Today, a federal judge to stop Illinois' assault weapons ban registry from going into effect.
Democrats to restrict Second Amendment rights, like requiring background checks for transfers of firearms.
In the filibuster, expand the court, take away your constitutional rights under the Second Amendment. Well, we just heard that that's exactly what the Democrats want.
And all those cases, he's going to list maybe hundreds more, they involve guns that are not banned by this.
We've already lost more than 13,000 Americans to gun deaths so far this year.
The Bruin decision radically changed how courts determine whether gun safety laws are constitutional.
Denial of deadline extension request. All right, folks, gather round because we've got some legal drama happening in Illinois, and Judge Stephen McGlynn is at the center of it all. So here's the scoop. McGlynn just dropped the gavel on a preliminary request to push back the January 1 deadline, and things are heating up. You've got the Protecting Illinois Communities Act, or PICA, and it's causing a bit of a stir. People are scrambling to make sense of it, and some folks wanted a bit more time to figure things out. But nope, not on Judge McGlynn's watch. He's like, we're diving in head first. No delays, no procrastination. The judge didn't just deny the extension. He did it with flair, talking about an expedited full review like he's ready for some legal roller coaster. He's basically saying, we're not here to drag our feet, we're here to get to the bottom of this PICA business ASAP. And guess what? He's not interested in more of that preliminary back and forth. No time for games. He's waving off further preliminary wrangling like it's last season's fashion. McGlynn's got his eyes set on the big picture, a deep dive into PICA and the emergency rules. Now, let's break this down. An expedited full review is like when you've got a messy room and your mom says, we're not just tidying up, we're doing a full-blown cleaning extravaganza. McGlynn wants to tackle the legal challenges to PICA without all the tiptoeing around. No baby steps here, it's a sprint to the finish line. And that part about skipping more preliminary proceedings, it's like McGlynn's saying, enough with the warm-up, let's get to the main event. He's cutting through the red tape, jumping straight into the meaty stuff. Imagine you're at a movie, and instead of trailers, they throw you right into the action. That's the McGlynn way. Now, why the rush?
Today, a federal judge to stop Illinois' assault weapons ban registry from going into effect.
In other states for criminal acts, and those who have stated a desire to get a weapon to do harm.
Well, the judge is dropping hints about going for an exhaustive review of PICA and the emergency rules. It's like he's got a magnifying glass and is ready to scrutinize every detail. No stone left unturned, no legal nook or cranny ignored. So what's the takeaway here? Judge McGlynn isn't playing around. He's got a date with PICA and he's not about to stand it up. The denial of that deadline extension is like the opening scene of a legal blockbuster, setting the stage for a wild ride through the intricacies of Illinois law. In the grand theater of justice, McGlynn is the lead actor and PICA is the script. Buckle up, folks. We're in for a legal roller coaster, and Judge McGlynn is steering this ship straight into the storm. Will PICA stand tall, or will it crumble under the weight of legal scrutiny? Only time will tell, but one thing's for sure, McGlynn isn't here to twiddle his thumbs. The legal saga continues, and we're all just along for the ride. Legal challenges and lawsuits. Hold on to your legal hats, because attorney Thomas Magg just threw down the gauntlet, filing for a summary judgment that's making waves in Illinois. This is some courtroom drama you won't want to miss. So here's the lowdown. Magg is flexing his legal muscles, claiming that Illinois is treading on citizens' Fifth Amendment rights. He's not just knocking on the courthouse door, he's practically kicking it down, shouting, "We've got a violation here." Now let's dive into the legal toolbox Magg's using. He's bringing out the big guns by referencing the U.S. Supreme Court precedent, a little something called Haynes versus the United States. It's like pulling out a heavyweight champ and saying, look, the big gun said something about this before, and we're not ignoring it. For those not in the legal know, Haynes versus the United States is like the OG of legal references. It's a case from 1968 that set the tone for how we deal with certain legal matters. Magg's basically saying, hey Illinois, your registry has a flaw, and it's deja vu all over again. But the plot thickens. Judge McGlynn isn't just sitting back with popcorn, he's ordering a status hearing for Magg's case on January 4.
We are the only nation in the industrialized world that tolerates such gruesome statistics.
Democrats to restrict Second Amendment rights, like requiring background checks for transfers of firearms.
It's like scheduling a showdown in the legal corral with both sides strutting in ready for a legal duel. The state is gunning for a delay beyond the January 1st registration deadline. It's like they're playing chess, trying to buy some time to figure out their next move. The legal chessboard is set, and McGlynn is the referee, making sure both sides play by the rules. Imagine this like a legal boxing match. Mag is in one corner, swinging those Fifth Amendment punches, while the state is in the other, bobbing and weaving, trying to avoid the knockout blow. The January 4 status hearing is like the pre-fight press conference, where both sides square off, exchanging verbal jabs. McGlynn's the MC, keeping things from getting too out of hand, but you can feel the tension in the air. As the legal clock ticks, we're on the edge of our seats, waiting to see how this legal showdown unfolds. Will Mag land that Fifth Amendment haymaker, or will the state dance its way out of trouble? Only time will tell, but one thing's for sure: the legal arena is buzzing with anticipation. The gloves are off, and it's a legal slugfest in Illinois. Don't blink, folks, you might miss the next legal jab. Low compliance and options for gun owners. Out of all the gun-toting folks with firearm owners' ID cards in the land of Lincoln, only a measly 0.63% have bothered to register. It's like a school attendance rate, but for gun paperwork, and trust me, the teacher isn't pleased. So what's the deal with the other 99.37%? Well, they've got some choices on their plate, and none of them are a walk in the park. The powers that be are suggesting options like destroying their precious firearms, turning them over to the authorities, or doing what I like to call a rehoming adventure, shipping those bad boys out of Illinois like they're unwanted house guests. But hold on to your holsters, because here's the kicker: they've also got the option to play the ultimate game of bureaucratic chicken and not register at all. It's like a rebellious teenager saying, "You can't make me." But spoiler alert, there are consequences to this game. Now let's talk penalties. If you're part of the 99.37% saying, "Nah, not gonna register," you could find yourself with a one-way ticket to a Class A misdemeanor on the first offense. That's like a legal slap on the wrist, but it's still a slap.
In the filibuster, expand the court, take away your constitutional rights under the Second Amendment. Well, we just heard that that's exactly what the Democrats want.
Under the new rule, these firearm owners will be required to obtain special registration.
And if you're feeling particularly stubborn and decide to dance with the law a second time, congratulations! You've just earned yourself a Class 3 felony. That's not just a slap on the wrist, it's more like a legal karate chop to the legal gut. So it's decision time for Illinois gun owners. Do you play by the rules and register? Do you bid farewell to your beloved firearms, sending them off into the sunset? Or do you channel your inner rebel and risk the legal consequences? This is like a Wild West standoff, but instead of 6-shooters, it's legal documents and registration forms. Who would have thought bureaucracy could be this intense? The clock is ticking, the registration deadline is looming, and Illinois gun owners are left pondering their options. It's a tough call, and whichever way they swing, there are repercussions. Will they comply with the law, bid adieu to their firearms, or take a stand and face the legal music? The ball is in their court, but one thing's for sure, the drama in Illinois is far from over. So, stay tuned, folks. The legal saga continues, and it's a showdown between paperwork and principles. Governor's ban and registration deadline. Let's talk about Governor J.B. Pritzker's grand entrance into the world of gun control. On January 10, 2023, Pritzker waltzes into the political scene and signs a ban on attack weapons and high-capacity mags in Illinois. It's like he's saying, "Enough is enough, let's shake things up a bit." But the plot thickens. Fast forward to January 1, 2024. That's not just the start of a new year, it's also the deadline for owners of attack weapons from the pre-ban era to register their precious firearms. It's like a countdown, but instead of fireworks at midnight, you've got legal deadlines ticking away. Now here's where things get a bit murky. There's some uncertainty floating around about just how many firearm owners' ID card holders in Illinois are harboring these now banned items. It's like trying to count stars in the night sky. You know they're out there, but getting an exact number, that's a whole different challenge. As of the latest update, only around 0.63% of FOID cardholders have jumped on the registration bandwagon. The big question mark hangs in the air. How many more are out there? Are we talking a handful, a horde, or something in between? It's like a guessing game, and the stakes are pretty high.
And all those cases, he's going to list maybe hundreds more, they involve guns that are not banned by this.
That our law enforcement groups have given us to this bill, because that's vitally important. I felt that was extraordinarily important.
So, Illinois finds itself at a crossroads. Pritzker has laid down the law, banned those attack weapons, and set the stage for a registration deadline. But in the vast expanse of FOID cardholders, who knows how many are playing by the rules? The drama unfolds as the clock ticks away and the uncertainty lingers. Will the majority comply with the ban and register their firearms, or will they choose the path of defiance, risking the legal consequences? It's a classic tale of government regulations, individual rights, and a touch of mystery. Welcome to Illinois, where the ban is signed, the deadline looms, and the number of unregistered firearms remains shrouded in uncertainty. Enforcement challenges and opposition. We're diving into the nitty-gritty of how law enforcement is tackling this whole attack weapons ban situation in Illinois, and let me tell you, it's a bit of a wild ride. First up, we've got Kane County Sheriff Ron Hain stepping into the spotlight. He's the man with the plan, outlining how law enforcement is approaching this ban. Now, Ron isn't planning on sending his deputies door to door, asking folks to show off their firearm collection. No, sir. He's more of a strategic player, saving the big moves for high-profile investigations. It's like a game of chess, and he's carefully choosing when to make his moves. But wait, there's more to this story. Enter the opposition, those gun rights advocates who aren't exactly throwing a welcome party for this ban. They're waving the mental health flag, saying, hey, let's not forget the real issue here. According to them, the focus should be on providing more support for mental health. It's like saying fix the root cause, don't just put a band-aid on it. And here's the twist. They're worried that the ban might just become a golden ticket for the black market. Instead of solving the problem, the ban inadvertently creates a thriving black market for these banned items. It's a bit of a monkey's paw situation. You wished for a ban, but now you've got a shadowy market thriving in its place. Now let's talk penalties. We're not playing tiddlywinks here, we're dealing with serious legal consequences. Prosecutors hold the key to enforcement, determining the fate of those who dare to violate the ban. Carrying an unauthorized attack weapon might land you a misdemeanor, complete with a 1-year jail stint or a fine that'll make your wallet whimper, up to $2,500. That's not exactly pocket change.
We've already lost more than 13,000 Americans to gun deaths so far this year.
But if you decide to up the ante and manufacture, sell, or purchase an unauthorized weapon, you're stepping into felony territory. Brace yourself for up to 10 years behind bars and a hefty fine of up to $25,000. It's like the law is saying, cross this line and you're in for a world of legal hurt. So, here we are. Law enforcement strategizing, opposition voicing concerns, and the legal consequences hanging heavy in the air. Illinois has set the stage for a high-stakes game, and the players are making their moves. The ban drama continues, and as the saying goes, may the odds be ever in your legal favor. Stay tuned for more twists and turns in this Illinois legal saga. Supreme Court decision and ban on AR-15. All right, let's talk about the big guns. And by big guns, I mean the AR-15 semi-auto weapons. The U.S. Supreme Court has spoken, and it's leaving in place Illinois' ban on these bad boys. It's like the law laid down the hammer, and the Supreme Court said, yep, we're good with that. Now rewind to the chaotic aftermath of the 2022 Independence Day parade shooting. 7 people lifeless, 48 wounded, and 83 rounds fired in under a minute using an AR-15. It was a tragedy that shook Illinois to its core, and in response, the state said, enough is enough. The ban on semi-auto weapons, especially the notorious AR-15, was born. But of course, where there's a ban, there's opposition. Gun rights advocates and a gun retailer took their gripes to court, arguing that the ban didn't play nice with the Constitution. They claimed the ban wasn't in line with the nation's history and tradition of firearms regulation, citing the Supreme Court's conservative majority ruling from the previous year. So what happened in court? Well, let me break it down.
By some counts, so far this year, there have already been 174 mass shootings.
I look at the New Jersey that I grew up in. I did not grow up in a New Jersey where people were carrying guns on their hips.
State and federal courts took a good hard look at the challenges against the ban, and they collectively said, no, we're standing by this one. The ban got the green light, and the legal challengers were sent packing. And just to drive the point home, the U.S. Supreme Court, the big boss of all courts, stepped in and said, we're not touching this. That's right. They declined to put a stay on the law. It's like the Supreme Court handed down a verdict saying, Illinois, you do you. So there you have it. The AR-15 ban in Illinois stands tall, defended by the courts from state to federal, and the Supreme Court saying, no need for us to get involved. It's a decision that echoes through the legal halls, setting a precedent for how states can regulate firearms in the wake of tragic events. The drama may be over for now, but in the world of law and guns, you never know when the next legal battle is just around the corner. Keep those legal eyes peeled, my friends. Legal and constitutional arguments. In the complex landscape of Illinois firearm regulations, Governor J.B. Pritzker made a significant move on January 10, 2023, by signing a statewide ban on attack weapons and high-capacity mags. This decisive action was a response to growing concerns about gun violence in the state. However, the bold move came with a catch: a looming registration deadline for owners of attack weapons existing before the ban. As the clock ticked towards January 1, 2024, gun owners found themselves at a critical juncture, facing the deadline to register their firearms. This wasn't just a routine bureaucratic task. It was a pivotal moment that demanded choices and actions. The ban was now in full effect, and Illinois residents had to navigate the complex terrain of compliance. Amidst this unfolding drama, the exact number of firearm owners' ID card holders in possession of the newly banned items remained shrouded in uncertainty. The state found itself grappling with the challenge of quantifying how many individuals were affected by the ban. It was akin to attempting to count stars in the vast expanse of the night sky, a challenging endeavor with elusive answers. In the wake of the ban and registration deadline, legal challenges began to emerge. Attorney Thomas Magg stepped into the arena, filing for summary judgment against the law. His argument rested on the claim that the law violated citizens' Fifth Amendment rights against self-incrimination. This legal maneuver injected a new layer of complexity into an already intricate situation.
The right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed.
The Bruin decision radically changed how courts determine whether gun safety laws are constitutional.
The legal battleground intensified as Magg referenced the U.S. Supreme Court precedent set in the 1968 case of Haynes versus the United States. Drawing parallels, he contended that Illinois' registry suffered from the same constitutional defect identified by the Supreme Court in that historical case. It was a nuanced argument that brought historical legal principles into the contemporary context of Illinois firearm regulations. As legal battles unfolded, the compliance landscape revealed a stark reality. Only 0.63% of firearm owners, ID card holders in Illinois, had registered their firearms as of the latest update. This low compliance rate sparked concerns and highlighted a significant portion of gun owners choosing various paths of action, including non-compliance. Amidst this legal and regulatory maelstrom, the U.S. Supreme Court weighed in on the broader issue of Illinois' ban on AR-15 semi-auto weapons. The conservative majority's ruling emphasized a constitutional standard anchored in the nation's founding principles. Challenges against the ban, asserting its inconsistency with the nation's history and tradition of firearms regulation, were met with rejection in both state and federal courts. The Supreme Court's decision not to intervene signified a tacit approval of the legal standing of Illinois' firearm regulations, leaving the law in place. In this intricate tapestry of legal maneuvering, constitutional arguments and compliance challenges, Illinois found itself at the intersection of individual rights, public safety, and the ever-evolving landscape of firearm regulations. The journey from the governor's signature to the Supreme Court's decision showcased the complex dynamics at play in shaping and defending state-level firearm policies. The saga continues, with legal uncertainties lingering and the implications of these decisions rippling through the broader discourse of gun control. Sheriff standoff. In a bold and defiant move, a majority of county sheriffs in Illinois have thrown down the gauntlet, making it clear that they won't be enforcing the Protect Illinois Communities Act. This far-reaching law, enacted in January, casts a wide net over attack weapons and high-capacity ammunition mags. However, the sheriffs, predominantly hailing from rural areas, are taking a stand against PICA's impact on private attack weapon owners. The law not only puts a halt to the sale and purchase of new attack weapons, but also clamps down on their private ownership. There is, however, a caveat in the form of a grandfather clause, allowing existing owners to retain their weapons by registering them before the looming deadline of January 1, 2024. Since the registration portal swung open its virtual doors in October, around 52,000 people have jumped through the bureaucratic hoops and complied with the mandate. Despite facing legal challenges that have reached the Illinois Supreme Court and federal Seventh Circuit of Appeals, the sheriffs aren't backing down. At the heart of their opposition lies a fundamental belief that PICA treads on the Second Amendment. Their statements resoundingly declare a refusal to check or arrest law-abiding gun owners for non-compliance, presenting a united front that poses a formidable political challenge for Illinois' ruling Democrats. The effectiveness of the law is now hanging in the balance, with those tasked with its enforcement openly rebelling against it. This wave of non-compliance is not just a legal battle, it's a vivid manifestation of the broader cultural and political chasm that exists between the liberal urban centers, epitomized by Chicago, and the more conservative rural regions.
The law is going to remain in effect, and we are going to be safer as a result.
The statements issued by the sheriffs paint a picture where those in favor of the ban seem like the outliers rather than the norm. The resistance against PICA becomes a microcosm of a long-standing conflict deeply rooted in historical perceptions of what constitutes a good American. This criteria-heavy definition includes factors like race, religion, and property ownership, all of which have significantly colored the interpretation of the Second Amendment. The sheriff's stand is more than just a refusal to enforce a law. It's a statement, a bold proclamation against what they perceive as an infringement on constitutional rights. The clash of ideologies, magnified by this act of defiance, underscores the complexity of crafting and implementing legislation that resonates across diverse demographics. The struggle isn't merely legal. It's cultural, it's political, and it delves into the very essence of what it means to be an American. As the showdown between these sheriffs and the state government unfolds, it's clear that the ramifications extend far beyond the boundaries of a singular law. The cultural and political rift exposed by the resistance to PICA reflects an ongoing dialogue about identity, values, and the ever-elusive quest for a unified American narrative. Cultural chasm: urban versus rural perspectives on gun laws. The refusal of downstate sheriffs to enforce PICA represents more than a legal challenge. It underscores a broader cultural and political gap between urban and rural perspectives on gun laws. The conflict has intensified as liberal legislators in Chicago push for stricter gun regulations, facing resistance from conservative sheriffs in rural areas who oppose enforcement. This cultural schism delves into historical ideals of governance tied to property ownership, whiteness, and Christian faith. The debate over what defines a good American traces back to the founding of the nation, perpetuating a narrative that those meeting specific criteria, primarily white, Christian, property-owning men, are entrusted with defending the state. The ongoing conflict reflects a clash of values and identities, with the sheriff's refusal to enforce PICA being a tangible expression of this ideological discord. Political science professor Alexandra Philindra emphasizes the conflict as part of a broader historical pattern, highlighting the role of firearms in defending perceived threats to whiteness, home, and property. The defiance exhibited by downstate sheriffs challenges the state's authority, creating a situation where the system's functionality is questioned. That's all for this video, folks. See you next time.